So to start it off, we had a question from one of our friends named Miriam, and she asked, why do Jews have to marry Jews?
That's the whole question?
That is the question. Shortest question we had. I thought we'd start with it.
Okay. I'm sure the person's looking not for an answer that says in the Torah that you should marry a Jew. Basically, on a spiritual level, there are different. Every soul is rooted within the great soul of Adam, which is Adam Kadmon, called Adam Kadmon, and all souls come from a particular place within the great soul of Adam. So there are souls that are connected to the hands, souls that are connected to the feet, souls that are connected to the heart, connected to the brain, which means that metaphysically there is a soul type that comes from one area within the great soul of Adam, with this great collective soul, and there are soul types that come from different areas. And we see this also very clearly in terms of our own lives. We see there's different people that are attracted to different types of things, different people, certain types of music or food or people they're attracted to, and certain people are attracted to others. This is all because everything occurs on a physical level, which means the body that we contain, which is part of our genetic makeup and part of our nurture and our nature, is essentially the glove, the body that carries our soul type. And in order for our soul type, which is our soul particularity, our individual part of ourself, which is really who we are, in order for that part of our soul, which means for who we truly are, to be expressed, we need this particular body to express it. So it's not just a random coincidence that our soul is in this body. If a person is tall, short, thin, heavier, black, white, yellow, whatever the situation is on a physical level, that's a manifestation, a representation of what's occurring on a spiritual level. So people that are born Jewish, meaning they're born to two Jewish parents, which means that they're genetically Jewish. This means that they have a particular soul purpose in this world, that because their soul is rooted within a particular area within the great soul of Adam, they have a particular soul purpose, and in order for the soul purpose to be achieved, they have to live fully as a Jew. And part of living fully as a Jew is to find a person that you're going to live with. What's the idea of marriage? Marriage is a template through which a person is challenged and encouraged to grow. You marry somebody that will help you be your best possible self. That doesn't necessarily mean that this person will always be accommodating and always saying yes there, but it's someone that's an Ezer Kenegda, someone that's against them as a helper, someone that's almost a mirror that allows them to see themselves and see sometimes the choices that they're making that isn't correct, and allows them to make the better choices that they have in their life. So marriage is an opportunity where a person can live with another person to achieve their maximum soul potential. And because part of being a Jewish soul in a Jewish body is that we have to live our maximum potential, therefore we should live with somebody in a marriage that will allow for us to live this maximum potential. This is all obviously talking about in a metaphysical and a spiritual level. We're not talking about the halachic issues, which I'm sure that was not the question, because it says clearly in Torah you should. But we're talking about on a spiritual level, if you want to live your full potential, you have to live with somebody that will allow you to bring out your full potential.
We have a question from an anonymous asker.
Yeah.
They said, why is it that nowadays the time where a man becomes a man and a woman becomes a woman is still 13 and 12? 13 for a man and 12 for a woman.
Yeah.
Say clearly 13-year-olds are not men nowadays and 12-year-olds are not women. So shouldn't we change the age?
The truth is, some people are 30-year-old and they're not men, neither a woman, neither mature men or women. Again, this is also actually a spiritual process that every single person is born with what is called the Yetzer Hara, or a Nefesh HaBahamis, and we'll call it a selfish gene. Every single person is born with a very dominant ego. Children, up until almost 6 months, believe that everything around them is an extension of them, that their mother is actually an extension of them. This is why children get very frustrated. If you don't feed a child that's 2 months old, they go crazy. They think that the mother's milk should be available at all times, at any time of the night. Because really, conceptually, they actually don't know that their bodies end and there's a continuation of something else that's outside of themselves. That's why you find little children, sometimes they're looking at the edge of their fingers and the edge of their toes, because they're discovering that their body ends. And the process of the soul entering into the body, the soul represents the part of ourself that is transcendent, the part of ourself that is egoless, the part of ourself that actually can be altruistic and be there for another person beyond ourself. That's the dimension, that's the spiritual quality that we have. We're born with that part of the soul, but it's in a very, very concealed manner. And it's a process through which, over periods of time, this soul starts entering into the body and has a stronger effect. So it's not maturity that we call maturity, which is a responsible person that can have a job, can get married. That's not what maturity is according to Kabbalistic or in a deeper understanding. This is not what we're talking about maturity. And then indeed there's people that are 30-year-olds that are not mature. We're talking about the capacity to be empathetic and sympathetic to another person, is the ability when our soul, it comes because of the ability when our soul enters into our body and integrates into our consciousness on a deeper level. And this actually occurs in the beginning of teenager years, where a child up until this period of time, 12, 13 years, until their teenager years, they are very much self-centered, and that's actually healthy for a child to be self-centered, to maintain their ego, because if a little child that's 6 months old will say, I'm going to be altruistic now, I'm not going to eat for a day because my mother's tired, God forbid they won't survive. So it's healthy and it's adaptive for us to be very much ego-based. And then as we're maturing means as we're spiritually evolving, higher levels of our soul enter into our body. And at 13 and 12 years old, that's when the soul enters our body, the beginning of the entry of the soul into the body in a more manifest way, which means that now the soul, we have a capacity to be sympathetic, and we see this already with teenagers. Not that they're not selfish, but they do have this capacity already to feel another person. And the truth is that the soul doesn't integrate into the body until much later on in life, fully. Till 20 years old is already another mark, which is considered, in Jewish law, considered a mark of more maturity, where we say that a person 20 years old is a borrowing shim. This means responsible for their own life, and they're not actually responsible until they're 20, in laws within the Shema, laws between God and man. And then there's the idea that a person's soul really fully enters into their body, which means that they fully become a possible transcendent being and fully responsible in life until 40. That's why the word neshama, which is the word soul, actually has the words mem shana, 40 years. Mem stands for 40, and shana is for year. So neshama really fully enters into 40 years. So the short answer to the question is that we're not talking about a maturity in terms of responsibility so much as a form of spiritual evolvement to leave the ego and to feel another person. And that actually also is a process which begins in teenager years, 12, 13 years old, and then further in 20, and then further in 40 years old.
Someone who is born to a non-Jewish mother and Jewish father, is there any source in the Torah that says the son should convert to rectify the father's sin? Does the father's soul even need rectification?
Our task in this world is not to rectify our parents' mistakes. Every person is judged for their own life, and we have to live our own life. Every person is born, and the soul that He's giving me is pure, which means that we start our life with a pure slate. We don't carry the baggage of our parents. Only if we continue in the same patterns of our parents, then we also take responsibility for better or for worse. But if we live our own life, then we're not born in this world to rectify someone else's faults. I've never seen a real source for this, that it has to be done. Although there is sources that speak about this person having also a Jewish quality, obviously because genetically they're also connected to Jews, more than just a person that doesn't have a Jewish father. But in terms of needing to convert to rectify something that was done by the parents, like I said, there's no source for that I know of, and mainly the idea is that really our lives is meant to be lived. We're supposed to take responsibility for our own lives, for the actions that we take, for the thoughts that we create, for the words that we speak, and that's what we're responsible for. We're not responsible for something that was done to us. That's in general.
We have a question from a person named Mehdi Sher.
Yeah.
He wants to know if can a Ben Noach put on tefillin?
I'm not sure. I would say that they could say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. They could declare the Shema. There's a story that the Chida, one of the great scholars, that he lived in the 1700s, early 1800s, writes that he was from Israel and he traveled to Europe and he was in England and he met somebody that declared his faith in the one God. And this is he writes of a conversation they had with this woman, and he told her that she should declare Shema Yisrael. She should say Shema Yisrael, even though Shema Yisrael literally means Hear O Israel, which sounds like a Jewish word. But the idea of Shema, which is the essential idea of what's in the tefillin, what's in the parchments and the scrolls within the tefillin, is to declare Hashem's unity, God's unity in this world. And that any person can say. That's all that really subscribes to it and believes that certainly can say Shema. So I'm not so sure.
We have a question from a friend named Iris, and it says, I was wondering if there's a way to stop the cycle of reincarnation, because the soul goes up, and in the astral level, they're obviously in a better place than coming back down into here. And if there is a way to stop reincarnation, how do we achieve it?
I would say, very simply, most people do stop the process of reincarnation, which means the soul that came down into your body for its particular tikkun, its particular soul elevation that it has to achieve in this world. This soul, if you achieve what you have to achieve in this world, then your particular aspect of the soul, your dimension of the soul that came down into your body will not reincarnate, will not need to be reincarnated. The only parts that will reincarnate is parts of the soul that weren't elevated, parts of the soul that you didn't connect with. But the parts of the soul that you connected with in this life, which means it's a soul that becomes your soul in this life, that's the energy that feeds you, that's the chayes, that's the life force that gives you life. That part of the soul is your particular soul, and that part of the soul does not reincarnate. So we could end the cycle of reincarnation in our own life if we live our fullest potential, our spiritual fullest potential that we could live. And we live that by following the positive things that we should be achieving in this world, by pursuing those positive things and overcoming the negative tendencies that we have in this world. It could be and doing both the positive and overcoming the negative. When a person achieves this particular tikkun, this particular soul elevation, this person will not need to be reincarnated. This particular soul, this distinct soul signature that's yours, will not reincarnate into another body. It will actually enter into a higher state of consciousness, a higher state of being. It's only the parts of soul that were not activated, not connected with, that we didn't get in contact with, those are the parts of soul that will return back into this world.
We have a question from Maria, and she says, how can we overcome uncertainty in very uncertain times?
It's a very big question. I'm not sure. Uncertainty over what?
I think the world right now is uncertain in many different ways. Maybe that's what she's talking about.
You're talking about on a global level. I would say two things. First of all, if you're talking about personal uncertainty of what should be done with your own life, I think we've discussed this a few times, but the idea is that uncertainty, there's holy uncertainty and unholy uncertainty. The place of uncertainty that does not always need to be overcome with certainty. Sometimes the place of uncertainty can be overcome with actually holy uncertainty. What this means is as follows. Uncertainty, negative uncertainty means I don't know what to do, I don't know what's going to be, and therefore I'm a Yush, I give up and I do nothing. Holy uncertainty is there's so many possibilities that I can do. There's so many things that I could be doing. I'm not stuck to a particular way of doing things, that it allows me to choose so many different things that I would like to do. So the holy uncertainty is the possibility of many. The unholy uncertainty is because there's so many options, I do nothing. And in terms of, on a global level, I think the uncertainty is really related to fear, maybe. And fear, it's a big topic, fear in itself, but one thing that we can think about in terms of fear is that fear, we only fear most of the fears are in our imagination, in our thought process. Let's say, for example, a person is lost in a forest. Not lost, let's say a person has to get from point A to point C and they have to go through like a treacherous area. And let's say there's scorpions or snakes, I don't know. And the person has to walk through this path and they're wretched with fear. How are they going to get from point A to point C? And the whole process they're going through, they're imagining that they're going to be attacked and something's going to happen terrible to them. What's going to be with their family? What's going to be with their children? What's going to be with their parents? And they have this whole narrative that creates this anxiety. And then, if God forbid this person actually really encounters this fear, let's say they encounter a snake, they're just going to run. The whole narrative is going to fall away, and they're going to act on that fear and do something about it. So I think what this means deeply is like this, that we always create scenarios in our head that this is going to happen, if that's going to happen, what's that's going to happen, what will be if this will happen, etc. I think we have to let go of that crazy narrative, because it does us no harm, it does us no good. It's not really creating any healthy space for us. It's just driving us insane. So if we can let go of that thing and actually deal with the real uncertainty that is actual. In other words, you look at the world and say there's so much uncertainty going on in this world. Oh, what's going to be, and what's going to be tomorrow, and what's going to be about. You don't know, so just let go. Just stop overthinking this issue. It's not your issue. Now, if you want to do something about it, and let's say you're involved in politics or you're going to do something about it, then do something about it. Then you're encountering the snake, and go ahead and run away and do something. But if you're not going to do anything about it, all you're left is just with fear, and it's the fears that's crippling. So it doesn't serve any value.
We have a question from a friend named Shua Goldstein, and he says, how does the concept of Tikun HaMidos work, and how can one apply that to their own life? For all those who want to know, Tikun HaMidos means the fixing of one's actions or traits.
Again, this is a very big topic, but we'll say a few words about this. The Kotzker Rebbe once said that if you break a midah, if you break a certain attribute that you have, you're not left with no negative attribute, but you're left with two of them. Which means that a lot of times, let's say a person has a tremendous amount of, let's say, lust. I'll give an example, let's say lust. And they feel like, it's overwhelming their life. It's clouding their thought process. It's not allowing them to be free and to be healthy in a relationship. And they want to deal with this issue. So one way you would think is Tikun HaMidos means to rectify this attribute, this natural attribute that you have, is to crush it. To really subjugate it and squash it and say, it's silly and it's nonsense and it doesn't have any value. And however you're going to do it, there's a whole gamut of teachings of how you can try to apparently crush this midah. But the Baal Shem Tov, the path of Chassidus, which the Baal Shem Tov taught, was really, you can't really crush something that's naturally cut, that's naturally you. If you're a person that's born with these types of tendencies, the purpose of life is not to crush these tendencies, but it's actually to direct them into a different direction. So everything in this world both has an underlying force, a drive, and it also has a narrative that's connected to the drive. So we have natural tendencies to certain things. Let's say a person is prone to be angry because they get agitated very quickly, or they have a lot of lust. This is a natural tendency. That thing in itself, the core energy of itself, is not negative, it's not positive. It just is. It's just one of the tendencies that we have. The negativity of those qualities is when they're directed in a particular location, and then all this anxiety that you have, this anxiousness that you have, that you're very on edge, now becomes anger, and then you lash out on anger at other people. But the actual tension that you exist with, you could channel it into something that's positive. Or if you have a strong desire for life and to give, you can channel it in something that's positive. And the purpose of the Tikun HaMidas, the way a person works on rectifying, really, and doing a Tikun, a purification or a refinement of a person's midas and attributes, is to ensure that you take those same things that you are, not to crush yourself, not to break yourself. Because that only works for a very short period of time, and then it resurfaces with a big vengeance. But really to say, I want to do tshuva shlema, if a person wants to do pure, complete transformation, is to take the tendencies that you have already naturally and direct them into a positive place. So whatever the underlying energy that you have, instead of crushing it, take it and say, how could I use that same thing and switch the narrative? Instead of the narrative being, therefore I'm chasing money, or I'm chasing fame, or I'm chasing this or the other thing, now I'm going to be pushing that same energy into something that's positive. And we can all use that. We can take the same strengths that we have and direct them into a positive location. I think that's what Tikun HaMidas would be, in a more higher, evolved way, where you take the natural tendencies of who you are and you direct them into a different location, you direct them into a different space.
We have a question from our friend Vali, and she wants to know, when it comes to relationships, if something gets a little difficult, marriage, or someone's dating someone, when it's difficult and not working, does it mean that the person is not right for you, is not your soulmate, or should you try to make it work? How do you know when is one that you need to actually work on it, and when is it that you know it's not right for you?
The foundation of a relationship is whether when you're in the presence of that other person, not when you're not with them, because when you're not with them, you always revert back to yourself, and you're alone with yourself, and a lot of thoughts come up of being alone, and especially if a person is a little older and they've lived alone for many years, so that's more their comfort zone, so always everything looks bad from that space. But the question is, when you're with that person, do you feel like you're growing spiritually, you're evolving, or do you feel like the person is crushing you? Now, the person can make you feel very good physically, the person can shower you with gifts, and the person can make you feel very attractive, whatever that is, the person can make you feel very smart. These are all nice things, but the real fundamental question is whether the person that you're with is supportive and helping you grow mentally, spiritually, emotionally, etc., whether they're really evolving your nefesh, your soul. If the person is doing that when you're in their presence, not when they're not in your presence, certainly if you're not living with the person, so you don't really know, but when you're in the presence of that other person, do you feel your better self coming out? Do you feel like you want to be your better self in this person's presence? Then it's a relationship that you should pursue. And if there's difficulties in that relationship, that just means that part of growth is difficulties, because you're being challenged. But if the person that you're with makes you feel good on other levels, but is not allowing you to be your best self, your fuller self, your higher self, then it's a relationship that you shouldn't pursue, no matter whether you're feeling good or not in the relationship. And I think that's the underlying parameter, how you can gauge this relationship is this person furthering my soul? Is this person furthering my purpose in this world? Is it allowing me to grow? Is this person allowing me to grow? Do I feel like I'm being my better self, my best self, when I'm in the presence of that other person?
We have a question from Miriam, and she said that she's heard in the chapter 26 of the book of Tanya that it says that Hashem, God, is closer to someone while they are suffering. And she wants to know, what is the original source for this concept?
It doesn't really say that. It's not. It speaks about the different levels of the Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, the different levels of Hashem's name, where there's the Anistar, Hashem Lakin, where there's the level of the hidden that's connected to Yud-Kei. It doesn't mean that. It means I'm trying to give an analogy of this, but it means like this. Let's say you have a child. The child knows you love them. You love the child. It's unconditional. You're always there for the child. When do you see the love for the child? When do you see the revealed love for the child that the parents has for the child? Or when does the child know that the parents really love them? When the parent is being kind in an open way, that they see the kindness being revealed to them. Let's say the child, let's say a little child, a little kid, and the child comes home and the parents give them ice cream. I don't know. So the child feels love. But what if one day you come home, the child comes home, and instead of showing overt love, the parent giving the child ice cream. I don't know if ice cream is looked. It's like, oh, it's so healthy, but whatever. Let's just say that's what it is. Instead of giving the ice cream, the parent starts screaming at the child that they didn't study in school or something. Now, if the foundation that the child understands is that the foundation of this relationship is my parents love me unconditionally, and now all of a sudden the parent is doing something that's against the parent's nature, because the nature of a parent that loves a child is to always be kind to the child, always to give them. If you're a parent, you know this. If you love your child, you always want to be happy with them. You always want to give them whatever they want. But sometimes for their best interest, sometimes you actually have to go against your own nature and break yourself. And instead of showing a face of kindness, you have to show us a face of restriction, of stern judgment. But the point of that is really to give the child even a bigger kindness, because the child has to grow. And in a way, it's a stronger love that's being revealed at this very moment, because for the parent to do something against their own nature, to put up the face as if they're angry at the child, only so the child can learn that lesson, is actually hard for the parent themselves. And that's what the Tanya is saying, that when a parent in heaven, when Hashem shows us a face of something that appears to be angry, but the underlying theme is that we know is that Hashem loves us, but is only doing for our own benefit, that's very painful for the parent to put on that face. And that's what it means. It's not that it's only in that sense. The love for Hashem is unconditional always, both in times of hardship and times of goodness. But it's a deeper level that's being revealed, because it's a level, like I said, with a parent and a child, where the parent shows a face of anger, or shows a face of severity and discipline, even though the natural instinct will be like, I love you and you can do whatever you want, but I need you to grow, so I need you to be a good student, and I need you to develop, so I'm going to tell you have to go to sleep right now. Really, I would love you to stay up the whole night and speak to me. So I'm forcing you to go to sleep. For a parent to do that, that's a level of restriction. That's a higher level for the parent to show that love.
There's a question from a friend named Alyssa Aliza, and she wants to know, chicken and dairy, there's no real issue, so why do we keep this minhag? She understands that there was confusion at one point between meat and milk, which is where the chicken came from. That chicken looks like meat. But now, where most people are a lot more careful and sorry about that. And you can buy from the store chicken. It says chicken on the store. You know that it's chicken. So how is this not one of the things where the Torah itself specifically says you are not allowed to add rules to the Torah? Would this be something that is added now, since there's no more concern?
The concern has nothing to do with, it's not nothing, but there's actually an opinion in the Gemara. It says that there's different opinions. One opinion is that fowl is considered meat. That chicken is considered a form of meat. And not because it looks like meat and pretends like meat, because it's actually meat. It is meat, but it's not meat of an animal or livestock or a cow, but it is actually meat. It's meat. It has the definition of meat. The only question is why wouldn't you eat meat of a fish? But the concept is that it's definitely considered a form of meat, according to one opinion. That's when the Torah says you shouldn't cook a kid in his mother's milk. Chazal understand, the sages understand that, and it was part of the Masar, part of the tradition, that it's not just a gedi, it's not just a kid, it means all forms of meat, and according to certain sages in the Talmud. This also applies to chicken, not because it looks like chicken looks like meat, but it actually has a definition of meat. And in general, this is, not mixing milk and meat has to do with also energetically, they represent two different things. One represents chesed, one represents gevura. Milk is chesed, kindness, giving, life affirming. Milk is a mother's milk, it's giving. Meat that's already no longer alive represents gevura, restriction, blood, death, etc. And a big theme in the Torah is that we don't mix certain aspects that cannot be mixed yet. Ultimately, there's a point of integration where everything reaches a point of unity, where we can achieve this that we can achieve this idea of the unity between death and life. But in the paradigm of duality where we live in, a lot of the laws of the Torah actually is to separate these two things. The point of separation is to come to recognition of integration. The Havdalah is the point of Amtaka, the point of separation is the point of sweetening in our consciousness, but the idea is that we're restricting and we're saying, we're defining this belongs here and this belongs here. And chicken is definitely a category of a form of meat.
To all of our viewers, we have a few more minutes to take a few more questions. If you have any more questions, please, we ask you to submit. We have a friend named Sharon. She has a question.
Yeah.
There's a concept in, I think, certain Eastern religions and traditions that focus a lot on meditation. And there's a concept in that called the third eye.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if the rabbis are familiar.
Yeah.
But she wants to know, is there such a thing as a third eye in Judaism? Does Judaism believe in such a thing?
There is a concept which is related to tefillin, to the tefillin shorosh, the tefillin of the head. If you look where the tefillin shorosh is placed, it's placed right over here on top of the head. There's a soft space where if you touch a child, it's not, I don't know what it's called exactly, there's a place there that's very soft. And that place is where you put the tefillin of the head. In the Kabbalistic teachings, it talks about that the tefillin is basically a portal. The position of the tefillin is a portal through which a person can experience hispashtus agashmi. A person can experience a type of transcendence of the body. And this is actually also recorded in halacha, in Jewish law. In Siman Tzadik Ches and Shulchan Aruch, it speaks about the idea that Chassidim HaRishonim, the early pious ones, would practice where they would divest themselves from their physical form for an hour before prayer, then they would pray, and then they would do this again. This type of hispashtus agashmi, this transcendence of form, which is a meditative way of like leaving the body, transcending through the body, was done through the space of where that tefillin was, and then you transcend through the tefillin, the capsule of the tefillin. So the idea was that there's some type of third eye, if we can use that term. That term is not used in Jewish sources, but if you can use that term, it's sort of a space that allows for a certain type of sixth sense, or a sense that's transcendent of a certain duality, that allows for a person to leave their body, to transcend their body and experience something that's deeper and infinite. So there is this concept, this idea, a sort of similar idea where we see that the Kabbalists talk about this type of passageway, portal through which a person can leave their body, and that's connected somehow over here. There's also Kabbalistic sources where it says that a person should transcend through their metzach, which is their forehead, which the metzach in the Zohar and other texts speaks very strongly of different types of or, certain types of light, that the body emits certain vapors, certain, let's say, breath. So there's a breath in the mouth, there's a breath in the nose, then there's a breath of the ears, that there's a certain type of sensation that comes out of the ears, certain type of mist, and then there's also the breath of the eyes, And then there's even a type of light that is projected through the metzach, through the person's forehead, which means that there's some type of space over here around this area where that contains a very spiritual power for a person to transcend. It's this whole structure mimics the Kabbalistic structure of Adam Kadmon, of the primordial being, which in the language of the Zohar, and then further by the Ari, there's different types of, everything is mapped out in the great soul of Adam, and all the different processes of creation occurs through different lights that come through the eyes of Adam, or through the nose of Adam, or through the ears of Adam, but there is a light that comes through the metzach, that comes through the forehead, which could be connected also to the third eye, so something around this position around here.
We'll take a very quick question. Just Carol wants to know, hi Carol, she wants to know, in which of your books do you teach at length about Yetzer Hara / Yetzer Tov dynamics?
In the book Reclaiming the Self, I think there's a lot of conversation about that topic.
We'll send you a link to Reclaiming Yourself, Carol. Also, there's a book, Life After Life, which speaks about the ending, kind of, and of that process. We have a question from one of our previous. They've asked a question to us before, and they had asked us a question in the past about having experiences, seeing certain visions while doing meditations. And they wanted to know, when someone has a supernatural experience, such as seeing balls or of energy, or balls of color, and vivid imagery, bodily sensations, various signs that are clear that they're above nature, how can they tell if what's being sensed is coming from a wholly pure place, and not, God forbid, from the other side, the Sitra Da'achra? And are there specific indications or signs to know where it's coming from? And in addition, what is the purpose that some individuals start having these sensations?
The basic structure and the definition between something that's coming from the holy side, from the side of Kedusha, or something that's coming from Sitra Achra, coming from the other side, which that in itself, you have to understand what it actually means, the other side, but let's just use these two terms, is whether something comes on its own, for the most part, or something comes through hard labor. When something comes on its own, if something is free, it's cheap. If the spirituality that comes to you, that's natural, that comes to you just on its own, for the most part, I wouldn't call it Sitra Achra, but I would call it neutral. It doesn't have Kedusha value. The definition of Kedusha is something it's not namdik, it's not shameful bread. The people in Egypt, the nation of Israel, when they leave Egypt and they go into the desert, they say, we remember the grain that we ate for free in Egypt. But in Egypt they didn't eat anything for free, they were slaves. The idea of Egypt, the spiritual definition of Egypt, is a place of constriction or limitation, a place of klipa, is free, is chinam. Chinam is free, things are given to you for free. It's cheap. Something that is worked on, something that you develop, something that you untangle and you work hard to achieve, that's something that's Kedusha. So I would say the foundational question is whether these things, these experiences, whether they just appear out of the blue. The person's walking down the street and all of a sudden one day, a 45-year-old person all of a sudden having these visions. That's one form. Or whether a person is alive and the person is working on themselves and trying to get closer to God and trying to evolve, it's hard to get a bit more spiritual, more holy. And then they have some type of epiphanies or some type of experiences, then we know clearly that's tzaddik Kedusha, that's on the side of Kedusha. So it really depends whether it's something that's worked on or whether it's something that's completely given for free. Having said that, there are sometimes people that are gifted experiences for free. But it doesn't. It's not coming from kedusha. It's not coming from sitra achra either. It's something that it's really a choice that a person is going to make what they're going to do with that experience. If a person is just a regular, 9 to 5 job, working on Wall Street, all of a sudden they're 45 years old, and one day they'll come home and they have some intense spiritual experiences, that's not kedusha. That's not sitra achra. That's a gift that was given from Hashem, and it's neutral. The way it was given is that it's a neutral form. Now the question becomes, now that you have this experience, what are you going to do about it? If that's going to catapult you into a life that's more dedicated to our mitzvahs, a life that's more dedicated to we become a better person, and a holier person, a spiritual person, a more committed Jew. If that's going to work that direction, then you're going to take that experience and it's going to become kedusha. If it's just going to be a pleasant experience and you're just going to wait for the next one, then it's cheap. It's nothing. It has no value. It's interesting, but it's like watching a film or tickling your toes. It's pleasant and it's nice, but it doesn't have real value. So I think that's really the question: whether it came through a person's own volition, own action, and own toil. That's positive. That's holy. That's not chinam. That's not free. Whether it's something that comes from a place of constriction or a place of, just a place of freedom, that it's just cheap. It just came on its own. It's not really kedusha. And then when something is gifted to you, then the question is what you're going to do about it. That's where you make the choice, whether it's going to be something that's going to be holy versus something that's going to be just nothing, and it has no value.
Last question is from a person named David Katanov, and he wants to know, he's heard of something called Tikun HaKlali.
Yeah.
He wants to know what that is.
Tikun HaKlali has to do with a teacher called Rav Pinson, the great Hasidic master, that composed certain verses, certain chapters of Psalms that said that this is a tikkun. This is a general tikkun for Tikun HaKlali means a general tikkun. A general tikkun, rectification, when a person is, especially for a person that has been wasting their energy. This can be a tikkun. This can be a rectification. It's particular chapters of Psalms that are recited in particular order. And Tehillim is connected with Lilith, and is connected with certain angelic negative forces, which is associated with wasteful seed, wasteful energy. And seed doesn't necessarily only mean semen, but it also means all types of energy that a person has that is wasted. If you talk to someone and you're wasting your time, then you're releasing that. You're wasting seed. If you're having negative thoughts or unuseful thoughts or wasteful thoughts and not productive thoughts, then you're wasting your machshava, you're wasting your thoughts. You can waste your speech, you can waste your action, and anything that's wasteful is gathered up, so to speak. Metaphorically, is gathered up by klipa, by the negative forces. Like the axis of a lot of things that are going on in this world is because there's so much thoughts and words and speeches that are just empty and shallow and just roaming the earth. And to do a tikkun for that is to recite the verses of Psalms, the verses Tehillim, and Rav Nachman collected certain chapters that he believed was connected to create a tikkun for that, for those particular types of behaviors.
Okay. Thank you very much to everyone who submitted questions. We hope, I know there's a few we didn't get to, but we hope to be able to answer them privately. Please, if you still have questions, obviously tune in to next time, which will hopefully be soon, and you can ask your questions there, or you can send them into the link posted on the page, and we will try to answer them privately. Thank you again, and we hope to see you guys soon.
Excellent.